In my hands, I have one of the most hated lift kits ever. At the same time, this is one of the most popular lift kits ever. Thousands and thousands of 7 to 13 GM trucks still run this lift today. So why does it get so much crap? Is it deserved? I have used this lift. I know a pretty good bit about it. I'm going to show you all different ways that I've set it up and explain the disdain. And we're going to come to a conclusion of whether this lift deserves the crap it gets. We're talking about the 2007 to 2013 7.5 inch rough country. One important thing to explain, and this lift could have its whole own video, but an important thing to understand is that the 7 to 13 kit and the 14 to 18 kit are not the same thing. We are talking about the 2007 to 2013 Silverado Sierra Rough Country. This is a 7.5 inch kit. In this body style lift, Rough Country used the same cross member for the 6 and the 7.5. I believe the 5 inch. The 5 inch may be a little bit different, but they used this smaller cross member. Bolt hole to bolt hole, this lift is only about 5.5 inches. So when we set this lift at 7.5, we've already got 2 inches of angle on the lowers, and we've got 2 inches of angle stretched out on our uppers. One of the main complaints about this lift is that you can't turn it up big. But if we look at other undersized lifts like a Max Track that is a 6 inch cross member, it goes all the way to 12. So what is the difference and why is this lift hated so much? A major part you have to understand is that Rough Country kicks these lowers out a pretty good way. This is where your lower control arm would bolt into the cross member. The reason they kick these bolt holes out farther than the factory mounting bolt holes is so that the strut will remain at a factory angle or an angle similar to factory. However, what this gives us is a lift that won't align when we try to stack the leveling kits and make it bigger. This lift has a little bit undersized spindle, and because these lowers are pushed out so far, the lower ball joint is going to be farther away from the truck than the upper ball joint. I'm going to put my angle pictures in here. I'm going to edit that in after, so I really hope this makes sense. The issue that you run into turning this lift up with the smaller spindle and the kicked out cross members is that you run out of upper alignment before you run out of lower alignment. I'll put this picture in here right now, but when I first started with this lift, I ran it with 7.5 struts, just the struts. I had the eBay 2 to 4 uppers and they made it sit perfect. The ball joint angle was flat. I had it for a couple months and I drove it like that. I enjoyed it and I wanted to make it a little bit bigger. When I went to stack a 1.5 bottom level under my 7.5 struts, those tubular uppers that I had turned in so much more than the lowers that the ball joint was angled out and I couldn't tow the wheel out far enough to get the upper straight or to get the alignment straight. What I did to fix this was run the Rough Country extended 2 to 4 control arms. And once I did this, I kind of started putting 2 and 2 together. Rough Country made those control arms actually extended, not just arched. They will work in this lift. Because the lower is kicked out farther, we need a longer upper to get the wheel straight. So when I set this at 9 with those Rough Country uppers, I could get my alignment right. But when I set it at 9 with the shorter eBay uppers, just the normal 2 to 4s, it was towed in and I couldn't pull it out far enough to straighten up the upper and get the ball joint out of the bind. A lot of people run into that issue where they try to stack this lift up and they can't do it. And that obviously creates a disdain for the kit, but it's really not the lift kit's fault. You just have to know how to do it, and you know that you have to use those extended uppers. You can use Rough Country, and I believe the KSP are extended. There might be a couple more that are extended, but the Rough Country ones are what I use, and that's what my pictures are going to show. In an overview, the major hate from this lift comes from the smaller spindle and these wider lowers. We're only going to be able to turn this lift up to about 9 inches with the spindle that it has in it. However, this is a 5.5 inch cross member. This is a smaller cross member drop-wise than a Max Track is. If we compare this lift to those other smaller drop cross members like the Max Track that can go really big, the only difference in this lift is the undersized spindle. So no, this lift is not going to sit as big as these 7 to 9s. It's not going to be able to go up to 12, but if you do it right, you're going to be able to set it at 9 and you're going to do it and you're going to be able to have a pretty good lift out of it. I ran 38s and I was able to full turn them on this, but I got mine for like $300 on Marketplace. I don't know, well, I do know. I probably would not buy this lift new. If you're looking to buy an economy lift and you like Rough Country, you can go up to the 14 to 18 Rough Country. That is a true 7 inch drop with a 7 inch spindle, where this is a 5.5 inch drop with that 5 inch spindle and kicked out lowers. Anyway, fellas, do y'all think this lift deserves the hate that it gets? A lot of people like it. A lot of people would never touch it. I don't have a problem with it, but like I said, I got a pretty good deal on it and I made it work for what I wanted to do. What do y'all think?